Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me? We are 1 minute early. Ooh. Hello, hello. How is everyone out there in the world? I'm on a absurdly rolly and rocky boat. You guys hear me? Somebody chime in the chat there and let me know everything's chill. Okay, good. Sarah says yes. It is very, very sloppy. I'll carry you guys outside right now and show you actually before we get started. Oh, try to not drop the laptop overboard. Oh, it is extremely lumpy out here in Kailua, Kona. I show you they got this cool hotel. It looks very 80s Polynesian. I like that. Yeah, so it's very, very lumpy here. I think my brain's gotten used to it because when I'm downstairs, it feels like everything's fine. Uh-oh. Let me get resituated. But yeah, so hello everyone. As usual, I'll be talking a little bit, and later on I'll kind of get into questions. I'll say, okay, how about some questions? And then we'll pull questions from the chat. It's hard for me to watch the questions, the chat, and actually engage. So that's kind of the format. My dear friend Sarah is going to be the troll hunter. So if there's any trolls in the chat, she's going to put them out to pasture. And yeah, so that's the jam. I also will say sometimes people ask questions I don't want to answer, so I ignore them. Spamming the questions over and over again will just get you removed from the chat. But I will do my best to answer any of the questions that I can get to. But first, let's talk about what's happening. Like I said, I'm here in Kailua, Kona, on the big island of Hawaii. This is my last stop before taking off. It's very exciting. I have a ton of episodes. I see Brian Wilson's on. What up, Brian? How are you? I have a ton of episodes edited and stacked up and ready to go of all the Hawaiian adventures that I've gotten into since I left Oahu, which has been a lot and some wild stuff. My good friend and like adventure buddy extraordinaire, Kimberly Wood, joined me June 1st, and she stayed for 10 days, and we did a bunch of anchorages on Maui, and then she did the Ala Nui Haha with me, and we hit some anchorages up here on the Big Island, and then she departed the boat yesterday or day before, a couple days ago. So that was awesome to have somebody on board. You know, it's like more fun to do this sort of stuff, especially like the kind of coastal cruising. It's fun to have somebody else to like you get to see all the cool stuff with. So that was awesome. I was stoked to have her on board for all that. And the Ala Nui Haha was pretty chill. I had what else? I mean, I planned the weather window to make that crossing to where it was supposed to be as mild as possible, and it was still like 20-25 knots, which is very chill for the Ala Nui Haha. So we had an easy but very, very wet beat into the weather on the Ala Nui Haha, which is the channel between the Big Island and Maui, which is the most dangerous channel in the islands. What else? So yeah, made my way down, and now it's a matter of finishing up. I need to provision. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to pull all the food out, take inventory of everything I have, see what I need to get. I'm pretty well provisioned. I don't have to get a crazy amount. I need to finish upping my water. I got some new jerry cans from Walmart here. So I need to top up my water because I'm like anchored a mile from the dinghy dock. So I'm pretty far off. and then I need to get a couple jerry cans of diesel fuel. And that's it. There's no real major boat projects to do. Everything's going good. Little bit of weird solar stuff happening where the solar panels were jumping back and forth between there being like not very like kind of grossly underperforming. And my buddy Archie messaged me about an hour ago and was like, yeah, just reboot those. He had the same problem with his Victrons recently. And he said, just reboot them, shut them down from all power in, power out, just shut them down, let them sit, and then reboot them. And he said that solved it for his system. So we're going to try that. I used my little generator today to charge the batteries up. So that was good. That thing works like a charm. And still very, very happy with my electric galley. It's so cool to not have to worry about finding cooking fuel for this big passage. Yeah. So that's what's up. Just kind of finishing everything up and getting ready to say a hui ho rather to the Hawaiian Islands. And I will be leaving from here, Kona, and sailing for the Tuamotus in French Polynesia, making landfall at Ragaroa, I believe is how you pronounce it. I got an agent to handle all of my paperwork and everything like that for the entry and my bond. Here's like a copy of my bond letter from the agent in French Polynesia. And for anyone that doesn't know what that means is when you go to French Polynesia, you have to either give them $1,700 to cover your bond, which they will give back to you at the end, but you have to arrange for it to be sent to your final port, wherever you're leaving from. Or you have to have a one-way plane ticket out of the country. Or you can pay an agent to handle all of the stuff, and then they insure your bond. So I paid about $300 for the agent to handle all of my clearing paperwork, which I don't speak French. I barely speak English. It's the only language I know. So they handle all the clearance stuff, clear out. They get you a duty-free card for a diesel. When you get ready to leave, I can top up all my diesel duty-free. And they cover they insure the bond. That was a big thing for me. So that's like a huge, huge thing. Very important because I don't even have $1,700 that I can spare for 2 months for them to hold on to. So yeah, $300 is well worth it for me for the agent. What else? Let me see. So I'll get to the Tuamotus. I plan on being there about a month. Then I'll go to the societies until I get aggravated with how they treat cruisers. Everything I've heard about the societies is not good, but I've always wanted to go to Tahiti, so I'll see that, and I'll just kind of just feel it out as I go. And I've spoken to a number of cruisers down there, and they're all just like don't anchor in front of someone's house. Like there's plenty of places to like be out of the way where people don't get upset. So basically when I get down there, I'll just like link up with the cruisers and say, what's the story? Like, what do I do to keep everybody happy while I'm here? So then I'll go from there to the cooks, and everything I'm reading is like, you really can only, based on how spread out the Cook Islands are, they're like, the cruising guides are like, basically you're just going to see one island in the Cooks because there's so much distance to cover before cyclone season. So cyclone season begins in November. So by November, I need to be heading to New Zealand. So, but the Cooks, and then I'll go from there to Fiji because everything else is still closed. So if things open, then I'll change my plans and I would love to go to Tonga and all kinds of stuff. But it all has to do with what's open and what's not open by the time I reach those locations. And when I get to Fiji, the plan is to go to New Zealand. And hopefully I'll get a 9-month visa there so I can spend the entire cyclone season exploring New Zealand. If for some bizarre reason I can't get into New Zealand, then I'll head north, probably to the Marshall Islands, or even just up to the Solomon Islands, and then work my way up into Indonesia earlier than I had expected. But I want to spend 6 months in New Zealand and then do the east coast of Australia, the Barrier Reef and everything, work my way up that after cyclone season is done, and then pop up into Southeast Asia. So that's the current plan. I got my French for Cruisers book here. Tells you like different boat words and some French stuff. And I've been doing French on Duolingo. It's like I did a lot of Spanish before because I was planning on going to Mexico. And I find it's like easier than Spanish, but very similar. So that's helped actually. It's been easier than I thought. But yeah, we'll see in the real world when it's not just a phone where I can go back and forth. But so I'll look at the chat and see what's up over here. What's happening? Someone asked what port in French Polynesia. Ragnaroa is where I'm going to make landfall first in the Tuamotus, and then I want to just explore as many of the all the atolls down there. I want to spend most of my time in the Tuamotus, the dangerous isles. What else? Someone's speaking French to me. I'm totally lost. Says, how many days is it going to take you? I think hopefully it'll take between 21 and 25 days. The new sails on Tritea and the fresh bottom paint are totally bonkers. She is so fast. She's never, ever, ever been so fast. So like when I've got good wind and she's balanced, I'm going between 5 and 6 knots constantly. So I'm going to be able to clip off well over 100-mile days if I have good wind. The doldrums, I don't carry a ton of fuel, but I think basically my idea is like if I sit bobbing still for 48 hours with no movement, then I'll probably try to motor through. But chances are I'm going to need all that fuel to get in and out of the passes in the Tuamotus. So I'm okay with sitting for days in the doldrums if I have to, but we'll see. Cross that bridge when we come to it. Yeah, someone said, don't forget your drogue. Oh, trust me, that thing is never coming off this boat. Metal asked if I have additional speed with the rudder fixed. Not necessarily additional speed because of the rudder fixed, but the fact that I'm not driving with the parking brake on will help. Mostly it's the new sails. The new sails made this a different boat. It's so crazy. Mark Killdragger is asking, how much water am I bringing? I have 35 gallons in my belly tank, and I have like 18 gallons in jerry cans, and then like a 9-gallon bladder forward. So whatever all that adds up to. And I have rain catchment. But like that 32-day passage, when I got here, I still had a quarter of my belly tank and didn't have to get into any of my jerry cans. Someone asked if I get seasick. Yeah, I get seasick sometimes. Pretty rare that I throw up. Most people get seasick, but I definitely, I mean, I threw up. I don't remember last time I threw up, but yeah, basically for me, it's like if I start feeling like my eyes aren't calibrated, I start feeling wonky, then I take a Dramamine or half a Dramamine and I'm fine. I'll feel like crap, but I won't throw up. But I don't know if I'll get seasick on the beginning of this next passage because I've been in rolly anchorages for the last like month. So my brain may have already calibrated out. I didn't get seasick at all in my passage from LA to Hawaii. Someone said, just found your channel. How will you update your videos under sail? I have 2 months of videos already edited and sitting on YouTube scheduled to be released. And then I have about a month and a half worth of videos that I'm going to edit this week that'll be scheduled. So I'm going to have a ton of videos stacked up so that even when I get to the Tuamotus, I don't have to try to chase down high-speed internet. I know there's decent internet in Tahiti, but I don't want to have to worry about that as soon as I get there. So yeah, I've got everything stacked up. And then all my patrons get that stuff early. So theirs are all scheduled. And then my brother Colby or Sarah will be the ones going into YouTube and making them live on Mondays. Someone says, how do you spot ships at night while you sleep? AIS. And I have a new AIS unit that's working like a charm. It has an alarm. You can set a distance, a range, and it'll set off an alarm and tell you when there are ships near. So I'm going to be able to get better sleep on this trip than I did last time for sure. Because my last time, my AS failed 3 days out. But this one on all the sea trials around the Hawaiian Islands has been working great. What else? Let me see. Someone asked if I have a sat phone. I have a Iridium Go, which turns my iPhone or iPad into a sat phone. It also allows me to download all of my weather as much as I want. And I have the top data plan for that. What else? Someone asked if I forgot the skateboard helmet. No, I got a helmet. Yeah, I'm set. I think I got a bunch of ratchet straps too. I tell you that. How do I handle boredom? I don't ever get bored. I get more bored on land. What's my best weather source? I use PredictWind for all of my everything. I love PredictWind. And the kind of the only model I really trust is the ECMWF or whatever the things are. But that's the only one I've ever found that's close to accurate. Somebody's asking about if I'm going to revisit drawing at sea since the passages will be so long. I won't. I don't have my drawing machine on board, so I won't be doing that. But Kate Harding, who's on here, set me up with a huge thing of watercolors. I might be doing watercolors using seawater from the passage of different, scenes, but we'll see. I don't know how easy. It depends on the sea state, obviously. I don't know how easy it would be to paint at sea with the. If you watch my passage video to Hawaii, you can see the motion of the boat is not very friendly to that. What else? So that's how the lithium batteries holding up. The lithium batteries are absolutely fantastic. I had a very interesting, cool kind of like experiment, and hopefully I'll be able to I wanted to do like a performance video to talk about all the numbers before I leave, but I don't know if I have time. But when I was like I mentioned earlier, Kimberly Wood was on board for 10 days. And it was interesting because that made such a big difference because it was 2 people. So it was double the coffee, 2 laptops, 2 drones, extra GoPros, like all this charging. So it didn't quite double the power consumption, but it made it a significantly amount more than when I'm solo. And what was interesting was there was a lot of like overcast days, especially on Maui. It was really overcast when I was on Maui. And I saw, it was like, the funny thing is, it's like, since I only have 400 watts of solar, normally it only gets down to about 60%. And then in full sun, it was bringing it back up to 100% every day. No problem. It was doing it. No problem every day. And then with Kimberly on board and with the overcast stuff, it got down to like 20%. And even when the solar panels were working top notch, it would get back up, but it would never go all the way to 100%. So it would get back up, about 20% from there. So I'd get up to 40 or 50% on a good sunny day, but then it would never top back up. And that's because I don't have, I need more solar, but I don't have room for more solar unless I'll build a big arch, which I might do in Thailand, but that's like way to be seen. Being solo though, alone, it's totally doable for me. Other people might have a much higher draw on what they need, but for what I live pretty minimally. So it's very simple for me. And especially on the passage, I don't drink coffee on the passage because I want to be able to go to sleep whenever I can. So I won't be running my electric kettle. So that's a big draw on it as well, but I'm loving it. I don't have to worry about fuel for the stove. It's really fantastic. Someone says, what kind of vaccines do I have to get? Well, you have to have the COVID vaccine, obviously, to get into any country. I got the mumps, measles, and rubella or whatever shot because I thought about going to American Samoa, which they're closed. No one can get in. But I got those vaccines. So I got them as a child, but I don't have paperwork showing I did. So I went ahead and got those so that if something happens and I need to go to American Samoa or I have the opportunity to, then I already have my shots. Other than that, it's mostly just like the COVID and the booster. Christopher's asking if I swim off the boat with a line. You know what? Like diving on the boat in 20 knots of wind and with no rudder was enough like cute swimming off the boat for me. I think I'm good for a minute. If I was totally becalmed and it was like glass, I would for sure do it. But yeah, after that experience of diving on the boat in an emergency, I was like, yeah, you know what? Not really that cute to me anymore. Favorite anchorage in Hawaii? Now, these are the kind of questions I want. Kalamanui on Lanai was my favorite anchorage in all the Hawaiian Islands. And I've never talked to anyone that went there. I saw it in a cruising guide. I don't know where my book is. This book right here. Best book. If you're cruising Hawaii, this is the book. I mean, coupled with I printed Noodle's Notes, which is a free PDF in spiral bound. This is a great one too, but this is the book. Kalamanui was hands down my favorite anchorage. It was fantastic. It was a little cove. It was protected, had good holding. I had unbelievable snorkeling 100 feet off the side of the boat. The viz was like 70 feet. It was fantastic. It was like no one around. I went to Needles. I wasn't really that impressed with Needles. I mean, it was cool to see the sea stacks and stuff, but it was blowing like 20 the whole time I was there. So that might've had something to do with it, but I was like, meh. Needles was like, I got some beautiful drone shots, but Needles didn't impress me as much as I thought it would. What else? Someone said, what is Joshua Slocum's influence on you? Wine Fiend Club. The Joshua Slocum Fiend Club is a reference to the Misfits Fiend Club because I'm a punk rocker. Mike's asking if my freediving has improved. Yeah, it's a lot. I practice constantly. Like I just go. The main thing Kimberly taught me was to go straight down. Like I was swimming too much at an angle, so that was a big help learning to swim straight down. But I also need to wear a dive belt. Gotta delete this troll here. Okay. What else? Someone asked if I thought of sailing the Great Loop. I'm doing the Great Loop of circumnavigation. Someone asked if I edit my videos while in passage. Yep. Yeah, about every couple days. I transfer the footage every day in case I lose a GoPro overboard. But yeah, every couple days I'll switch off. I'll do a couple days of writing and a couple days of video editing. Oh, Brian, those fins, every time I put the fins on, I say, thank you, Brian. I love those long fins. Oh, Archie's asking about, can I list the cruising guide in the notes, please? Yeah, let me see. Here, let me type this. Just a second. If you search that, that's the woman's name that wrote it. It's fantastic. Someone asked best island. I would probably have to say Oahu, just because I spent so much time there and it's got a special place in my heart. All the islands are so very different. I had a very, very unpleasant experience with the harbor master on Lanai. So that would not be Lanai. Maui's cool, but all the islands are so different. It's like hard. And unfortunately, I only spent 5 hours on Kauai. I sailed there. We were there 5 hours and then delivered a boat back. So I did that channel under sail, but I didn't get to spend it. And that's supposed to be the most beautiful island. Unfortunately, I didn't get to take Chartea there, but can't see it all. Someone asked if I did any scuba dives while in Hawaii. I've scuba dove in Hawaii in the past, but this time I didn't. I just did snorkeling. Hello, Kimberly. Kimberly said, favorite place to snorkel. Mala Wharf on Maui was awesome, really cool. The visual is insane. We found a cleaning station with 15 turtles at the end. It was totally nuts. But Nishimura on the Big Island was the coolest underwater landscape of anywhere in Hawaii I've seen. The viz was also crazy, but the underwater landscape there was like so bonkers, really cool. But probably the best snorkeling ever, and maybe Kimberly, you can chime in. It was either Ho'okina or Ho'onau. But I can't remember which one of those it was, but just like totally crazy. Most unexpected thing about Hawaii, Maytal asked. I don't know. I didn't experience any direct racism, and everybody always talks about that. Like in 2014, I did on Maui, but I've been here 8 months and I didn't have anyone. And maybe it's because I blend with the locals because all the locals have tattoos. I don't know, but I didn't have any issues. The only people that were a pain in the ass in the Hawaiian Islands were the harbor masters. Brian saying she made anchor outside the breakwater. I anchored outside the breakwater and she still yelled at me. So, yeah. And it was very rolly. Worse than here. What else? Someone asked if I did not visit Hilo. That was been too much of a beat. Someone asked if I cruised past Niahawa. Is that like Hawaiian native only island? If it is, I didn't at all. I know that's right by Lanai. Someone asked if I have a hand pump water maker. Yes, I have an emergency water maker. What is my favorite piece of gear on my boat? Well, now it's the hydrovane. I'll tell you that. Someone said, what do I eat? I ate beans and rice. My favorite thing to eat is Japanese curry with peas and carrots and fresh jasmine rice. That's like my super happy. What's up, Captain David Stovall? My boy just tuned in. Yeah, I like the Japanese curry a lot. I eat like tortillas reign supreme on boats because they don't go bad. Like bread goes bad so quickly. I eat oatmeal. Ramen is easy. Stuff that you have to kind of cook kind of fast and easy. Patagonia Provisions sent me a huge box of a ton of stuff that will be easy to make. Like, so I'll be testing all those out and consuming those on this passage, which I'm looking forward to. They look very high quality. Someone asked, who's crewing for me? No one. I'm crewing for me. And the hydrovane. Kate said, what are some of the things you plan to read while you're on passage this time? Well, other than that essay you sent me, let me see. I want to read this, Kingdom of Rarities, about rare creatures all over the world. And I can't remember. I have like a stash of books I didn't let myself even look at, saving them for the passage. Sarah, will you post in the chat where I'm going so I don't have to keep repeating it? So if you see Sarah Satya posting, she's speaking for me directly. Best new music since I left California. It was this dude. Let me look up his name. Last night, I've been like going to Big Kahuna Bar and Grill over here in Kona. getting these like Impossible burgers at night. They probably think I'm a freak because I go there every night. Colin John, he was playing steel guitar last night, doing like traditional like kind of like Hawaiian, like 60s Hawaiian music. It was heaven. It was awesome. And I did a little video clip. It'll be on my Kona episode with his like website. It was such a pleasure to listen to that dude play last night. ColinJohnMusic.net is his website. Fantastic, man. He is so talented. He had 2 different lap steels going. It was just like the perfect atmosphere. It had like kind of a Martin Denny feel to it. I loved it. What else? Do I ever get scared of ocean creatures? I do not. Nope. But I'm also like fine with dying, so it's like it kind of throws off the equation a little bit. Someone asked if I have a star map. Yes, I do. Oh, Maytal did. I have this whole book here. And I have like the nautical ones with like the plastic, so you can set up what latitude you're in and see what stars there are for shooting stars with the sextant. What else? Someone asked if I have a full book list of my sailing recommendations. Yes, Sarah, will you post my Amazon link? I have like an Amazon affiliate page where I post all the books that I use and read and find very useful. So Sarah will post that in the chat here in a second. What else? Have I ever seen shipping containers floating? No, but I would imagine that that's what I hit sailing to Hawaii. It's my best guess. I have not seen any UFOs in the ocean. Not that I don't believe in them. I just haven't seen any. Any sailing dessert hacks? Me and Kimberly found these things called stone crackers. They were like locally made. I don't remember. I think we stayed at this. We anchored at this really terrible harbor, Kauai High, and we found them there in like a little thrift store or like a little market or whatever. They were the best. Like you dip them, they're like that's like hardtack. You dip that in coffee or tea, and oh my god, like, and they had like the super generic, look like almost like government cheese packaging. It was the best. I loved them. Yeah, so any mermaids? I wouldn't be doing the live stream if I'd met any mermaids. Yeah, I see freighters all the time at sea, unfortunately. Chocolate noodles camping, highly recommend it. So Sarah just posted a link to like my book selection, my favorite books, the books I use, either for maintenance or for reading or nautical, yada yada. How do I generate money to survive? I have a YouTube channel that pays all of my bills currently. And if that falls off and is not able to pay my bills, I am a professional sea captain and I deliver yachts. Thank you, Daniel. What else? You guys have any more questions? Have I seen any rare creatures this voyage? No, not necessarily rare. Saw some weird frilly fish the other day, but I wouldn't say rare. The spinners have been sleeping around Tritea in the mornings, which has been fantastic. The spinner dolphins, that is. What do I do to pass the time? I read, I sleep, I edit, I write. That's about it. Stare at the sea, stare at the stars. What else? Would you purchase a used outboard motor and trust it, or you just save it for a new outboard? Just depends on how long it's going to take you. Oh, thank you. Someone gave me $20. Appreciate that. Depends on like if you think you're going to be able to manage to get a new outboard. It's like I worked paycheck to paycheck for so long. There's no way I could have like saved up, I think, on what I was making when I lived on land to buy a brand new outboard. So it just depends on your finances. But I mean, it depends. Like, is the cost of whatever you're paying for the used outboard? Used outboards are usually going to be a pain in your ass. Is outboards, anything that's a gas engine is a pain in the ass. So a new one is going to put off when it's a pain in the ass. So that's where you got to balance it. I mean, I like lived on, and I still live very minimally money wise. So it's like, can you afford it? I think outboards are really nice to have, but it's just a matter of what condition it's in and how much you're paying for it. Like if it's only a little bit more for a new one, then I would say just do that, because it definitely will save you a huge headache. Someone said, how much time do I usually spend below deck versus outside? Majority of the time, I'm below deck, especially on passage making. Depends on the sea state, though, and how the boat is doing. If the boat's acting up, then you spend a lot of time in the cockpit. But my boat's very small, and I have very low freeboard, so the cockpit's pretty wet. So you can only get blasted with seawater in the face so many times before you're like, fuck this, and go downstairs and be like, okay, I'm done with that stuff. But it really depends on the condition of the sea and what's happening. Like when I'm close to shore, I stay in the cockpit. Even at night, I sleep in the cockpit and I have an alarm set for every 15 minutes if I'm near shore. But once I'm well out and like off the quote unquote shipping lanes, then I'm down below most of the time. Yeah, the air is very fresh at sea. How do I stow my dinghy? Inflated? No, I deflate my dinghy, roll it up, put it in a pouch, and it goes in the V-berth. Brian, I think Brian asked if I speared anything yet. I have not. And I probably won't be doing any spear fishing in the French Polynesia either, because there's so much ciguatera down there. Like everything I'm reading, it's like I'll probably, like Captain Mike was saying, like stick to just trying to get mahi and like pelagic fish. Someone said, what am I most looking forward to in my travels in 2022? Uninhabited atolls and like very, very foreign places, foreign to me, I'm very excited about the Tuamotus, and that's the thing. And like currently I'm really stoked about crossing the equator by sail. That's like outstanding bucket list check off for me, so I'm stoked on that. My dinghy bottom is not rigid. It's an air floor bottom. I do not carry guns on my boat at all. I left my guns at my brother's house. What else? Someone asked if I'm concerned about hitting something like it happened in Hawaii. Nothing I can do about it. So I'm not. I try to, things that are out of my hands, I don't worry about, because there's enough to worry about that are within my control. Someone asked if there's a tattoo for crossing the equator. Yeah, it's a leatherback turtle. Thank you, Jan. Appreciate it. That's awesome. Thank you. What else? Thanks for tuning in for so long, Jimmy Magnum. Appreciate it. Sarah, will you post, keep up with these people asking where I'm going next so I don't have to repeat? Thank you. What else? Somebody asked what I think of Robert Redford's movie All Is Lost. I think it has a lot of continuity issues, and it was a bit too much of the perfect mistake storm for me. Someone said, what uninhabited atolls can you actually visit these days? Like 90% of the Tuamotus. They're not science permit. They're just out there. Sarah, they're asking for another song. Sarah just went and did a open mic in Los Angeles last week. Hopefully she'll start doing that more again. She used to do that many, many years ago. What else? Someone said, advice for someone who wants to quit their job, buy a boat, and sell the world. Get very comfortable at being uncomfortable. And hopefully you are like also comfortable being very poor. Because unless you're independently wealthy, that's what it's gonna amount to. Yes, I'm sailing. I'm circumnavigating. I'll probably do multiple circumnavigations, but this is the first loop. Thank you, Troy. Appreciate it. Thank you. Kate, no, I will not introduce my ukulele, but I did buy one. That's another thing I'll be doing on Passages. I'm like learning how to play the ukulele so I can learn silly cover songs, but I don't know that will ever be a feature on the YouTube channel, but I will do it for myself. Thank you, Norm. Appreciate it. How long do I sleep when I'm on Passage? I normally, well, the last Passage since my AAS was out, I was sleeping in 1 hour increments, and they set the alarm the top of the hour every hour. And I have a video. Actually, Sarah, will you post a video of all the things I learned? There's a troll. Sorry. But I would set the alarm for the top of the hour every hour. I would lay down at like 9 p.m. Top of the hour, I would get up, look for ships, check the course, and lay back down and wait for the next hour to pass. Usually the boat motion or the sails need adjusting during that time, so you don't always get to sleep that full hour. So it's just kind of in and out of consciousness. When I went to, I don't know how this person is getting through with this. There's like a kind of sex bot troll on here. When I went to Annapolis, I hung out with Ben Shaw of Out the Gate Sailing and a gentleman from the UK. I can't remember his name. I think his name was George. He was a solo sailor. I spent time with Randall Reeves and Matt Rutherford. And so we were all talking, like me and Matt and Randall Reeves were talking about solo sleep schedules. And both those dudes said they do the same schedule that I was doing normally. And then Randall Reeves, he did this insane figure 8 circumnavigation, figure 8 voyage, where he sailed from San Francisco down around Cape Horn. He circumnavigated Antarctica, did Cape Horn again, went up, did the Northwest Passage back to San Francisco. And he said when he did his Pacific loop, he did the same schedule that I was doing. And when he started his figure 8, he said he found out like 3 months in, he started getting the shakes and like couldn't stand up and stuff because of fatigue. So then he switched from the 60-minute to the 90-minute time period of sleep. And he said he was perfect after that. He felt perfectly rested and he did 90 minutes. He had an alarm set for every 90 minutes all night, every night for his full thing. And he was like, it was so strange because the 60 minutes was not doable for him. So with AIS, I might be able to get away with the 90-minute. God, I don't understand what's happening with this. We're getting just bombed by these like crazy sex bots. And they're not even the good sex bots. Someone said, "Well, I explore New Zealand by land and by sea and by land, or just mostly by boat?" Both, because I want to be there 6 months. So I definitely want to sail all around. But if I find a safe place to put the boat, then I will, and rent a car and go inland to do some camping and stuff. Oh, Rob from Sailing Eva's on here. Yeah, thanks for everything, buddy. Happy to see you guys are still out there charging it. And yeah, it was great to meet you. You guys check out Sailing Eva. They have a little YouTube channel, and they have a very big Beneteau. Someone asked if I'll get a bigger boat in Thailand. I won't have no plans on ever getting a different boat ever. Ever. I'm not one of those YouTubers. What else? How's my drone working? My drone it's working good. It's like, yeah, I've crashed it a couple times and it still works shockingly. I wish I'd gotten a drone sponsor, but I don't. Someone said, "What would I do if I won $1 million?" I would give half of it away to my closest friends and family, and then live off the rest of it and just like keep cruising. I've never overslept. The boat doesn't really my boat anyway doesn't let me oversleep. She makes sure that I get up. What else? Any other questions? I don't know how long we've been going for already. 47 minutes. Let's see if there's anything else I was going to talk about. I don't know. I'm excited to share all these upcoming videos with you guys of these adventures since I left Oahu. It's been fun finally getting to dig into the Hawaiian Islands and get into all the nooks and crannies. It's been great. Thanks, Ian. I'm stoked to hear you guys bought a boat inspired by my channel. That's awesome to hear. Someone asked if I have any form of radar. Yes, I do have radar. What else? Someone asked if I plan to get tattooed in Thailand. Maybe. I don't know. Not sure. I was hoping to get tattooed in the Hawaiian Islands, but I couldn't justify spending the money, so I didn't do it. I've been living on fumes. Someone asked, "I'm worried about the political situation in Thailand." No, I'm not. I'm just worried about getting as much pad thai in my belly as possible. Metal is asking if I take vitamins. Yeah, I take like old man vitamins. Multi for men 40 plus. Someone said, "Best boat magazine." Well, that was an easy lead in. Uh-oh. Best boat magazine is... Oh, that's not even the right one. So you guys trying to be funny. Oh, here we go. The new issue of Cruising World is the best boat magazine there is. Good Old Boat's a cool magazine. I actually have an article coming up in Good Old Boat that I wrote about when I bought Tritea in the next issue of Cruising World. I mean, Good Old Boat. I'm going to be writing for them a bunch, actually, in the coming year. Sarah's asking about the name of my favorite anchorage. I just typed it in there. Kamala Nui Anchorage. Most commonly used knot in my travels, the bowline reigns supreme. What else? What else? Someone asked, when did I start sailing? I started sailing very seriously in 2014. It's not hard to learn. It's just hard to find boats to get onto to learn. The best way to get onto boats is to try to get on an amateur race team, and you'll learn everything you need to know about sailing if you get on a race boat. Even if you're not competitive, like I'm not competitive, I don't care about racing, but that's the best way to learn how to sail, because you do so many maneuvers in a short period of time, and you do sail changes. You get to hear people yelling at each other for no apparent reason, but that's the best way to learn how to sail, is getting on a race boat. Thanks, John. Thanks for popping in. Kate asked if there's anything I want to write about I haven't written about yet. No, I don't know. There's plenty I need to write about that I know I need to write about, so I can't think beyond that, really. What else? Hello, it's me, Dave. Thanks for being a patron. Appreciate it. Someone said, would I ever want to live in Hawaii? I don't. If it's up to me, I don't plan on ever repatriating to the United States. But if I did, it would either be Oahu or most likely it would be the Pacific Northwest, somewhere up around, like, I don't know, Anchorages or something like that. Like, I would like to be old and be in that area, but I'd probably get like a pilot houseboat or even like a trawler, like a vintage trawler. There's not much use for sailing up in that area. There's not a lot of wind, but that's like one of the most beautiful areas I've seen, is that zone for America. Cruising Gypsy said, learning how to sail dinghies, absolutely. They respond so quickly, and you also get dunked a couple times, and you understand what not to do. Yes, sailing small boats like sabots or anything like that, that is a really good way to learn how to sail. Then you really understand what's happening and why it's happening. Elena asked if I'm doing a cruising style guide for Hawaii. I'm gonna write Tritea's Hawaiian Adventures book. It'll be a paperback book similar to my 6 Nights on the Hook at Santa Cruz Island book. There will definitely be a book about all of my adventures in Hawaii, but I'm not sure I'll do a proper cruising guide because there's already some good ones out. I do have a very extensive cruising guide that's in the process of being edited, and the illustrations. Kate's going to be doing the illustrations and editing it. So that is in the works for Southern California. It's massive, like 27 anchorages, and I've been working on it a couple of years. So hopefully that, in the perfect world, that will be out for Christmas, for sale for Christmas this year. But it's such a beast that and actually I was pushing kind of hard on trying to get it done when I did my logs from the Good Ship Tritea book. But the funny thing was, I was digging through all the old files for that cruising guide, and there were so many pictures of like me and Camille and me and Mr. Steady and Camille that it messed with my head too much. I actually just had to stop. I was like, I can't deal with this. So that kind of put that cruising guide on hold because of all the stuff. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. So that really kind of slowed down that cruising guide. I had a ton of other stuff happening anyway. So, but ramping it back up. Kate Harding is going to be staying with the captain that taught me to sail, Celia Bull, this like amazing female captain in Scotland. Kate's actually flying out to Scotland. She's going to be watching her croft and her Shetland sheep for the whole summer. And so Kate's going to be working on that while I'm out there. What else? Someone asked if I have a bottle of rum on board. I've been sober my whole life, so yeah, I stay sober. But I also do have a bottle of rum on board, but for guests, not for me. For guests and for Neptune. Someone said they sent me a hot dog. Someone said, "What books do I keep on the boat?" That's a whole different live stream. That would take forever. Someone asked if you're gonna be able to follow my. There's a bug in my face. If they're gonna be able to follow my journeys on PredictWind. Yep, the tracker will be going, and I did a ton of tracker blogs from all these last anchorages, so you can check those out. But yeah, I'll be posting the tracker blogs as long as it's working. I haven't had any problems, but I've known other people that had problems with them shutting down. But as long as it's up and running, you'll be able to follow along with my sail south. And I'll be doing the regular updates, my like literary shenanigans. Sarah, will you post a link to Tritea's blog? The tracker. What else? Somebody was asking about internet. I don't have internet on the boat when I'm at sea. I just have Iridium Go satellite. No internet. Sarah just posted the tracker link in the blog. And yeah, and I looked into I used to be on Google Fi, and I hated it because they kind of hosed me. I paid for the unlimited plan, and they throttled me down like real hard to where I wouldn't even load photos, which was insane on the unlimited plan. So I got rid of that, and I thought about going back to it because it's good to have when you travel, but they don't have any more agreements anywhere in French Polynesia. So I was like, well, it's not even worth the hassle then. I'll just be getting SIM cards and trying to get little bits of data, but mostly I'll be having to go to places, I guess McDonald's, if there's a McDonald's where I'm going, anytime I'm going, they have free Wi-Fi at all McDonald's. That's what all the cruising stuff says. So someone says, worst comes to worst at sea, what are your protocols to evacuate? Well, if the only way I would leave the boat is if it was sinking out from under me and I look like Johnny Depp standing at the top of the mast. That's the only way I'm leaving the boat. That being said, yeah, I mean, I have an EPIRB that I would set off, and if a cargo ship came by and I didn't have a boat and I was in my life raft, then I would climb on. That's about, but it literally, the boat will have to be gone for me to leave the boat. So someone's asking what internet I'm using to stream right now. I have a mobile hotspot. It's outside, but you have a little mobile hotspot, and with it's AT&T, but it's only good for in the US, but it's like $50 a month for 100 gigs. So that's how I upload all my videos from the boat and stuff while I'm cruising around when I have but you have to have cell signal for that. $30 a gig in Thailand. That is bananas. Someone asked what Hawaiian islands I've stopped at. I've stopped at every single Hawaiian island besides the one that haoles aren't allowed to go to. Someone said, what's my preference for navigation, celestial, electronics, or both? Well, obviously just electronic is simple and foolproof unless it doesn't work. But that's the primary, but I do have everything for celestial on board. Brian said, when does the hater quote merch come available? That I have that one shirt with the hater quote on it, but yeah, I haven't made any more of those. Just that one. I'm not stopping at Christmas Island because Kiribati was they were open for 5 days and a bunch of damn Mormons came back on a plane and brought 34 cases of COVID. So Kiribati is locked down for a very long time. How's the toilet and shower in my boat? Perfect. I have hot water if I run the engine, and it's a dream. I have a shower with a wet head. It's all custom built by myself. Someone said, Thailand, $7 a month, unlimited. That is awesome. Any thoughts on Starlink? Starlink does not work on moving boats. It is not there yet. It is a ways away from working on moving boats. If they figured out how to make it work on moving boats, I would definitely get Starlink. But I think that Elon Musk is a douchebag, though. What else? What else? What's the worst seas I've ever been in? Well, that's a funny question because worst, like Hollywood movie worst, most uncomfortable, or most dangerous? Because I mean, I've been in 20-foot seas off the coast of Bermuda and off the coast of Oregon, but they were long periods. So I could say 20-foot seas, but they didn't feel dangerous. They were just very, very, very large. But I've been in short, choppy seas that if you look at on camera, they're like no big deal, but it made me want to not be alive because they were so terrible. Someone asked if my hair color was natural. Yeah, it is. It's just like sun-kissed. I have not been to a salon probably since I was 15 or 13 or something. Obviously, I mean, I look like a hobo, but yeah, it's sun-kissed. What else? Man, we are just getting swamped with these like crazy sex bots today. What else? You guys got any more questions? Maytal's talking shit about my hair not being natural, but I assure you it is. Who does your tattoos? A lot of people do my tattoos. Most of my torso is done by Sean Barber. Kat Von D did a lot of my tattoos. Tommy Montoya did half of my sleeve. Brendan Rowe. Who else? Mike Tweed. Bunch of people. Ernesto keeps asking about my diet. I've talked about it a couple times, but I don't do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I just eat when I'm hungry. Usually in the mornings, if I feel like eating, I eat like oatmeal because that's easy. I like overnight oats a lot because I can put a bunch of stuff in there. Eggs. I eat eggs until they go bad. That's like my main sort of protein jam is eggs. Like I mentioned earlier, Patagonia Provisions sent me a ton of stuff. So they sent me a bunch of different stuff I'll be trying out. But yeah. And then dinners, it's usually, some kind of rice dish usually. Someone asked no, I do not have a transponder for my AS. I only have a receiver. When's my next video release? I release videos every single Monday. I've only missed one Monday since 2017. Somebody asked how the new autopilot working. The Hydrovane is a dream. That thing is so badass. What else? What else? How many reef points do I have in my main? I have 3 reefs in my main, full batten, and that's plenty for me. I've never seen a water spout at sea ever. But generally, I've never heard of anyone I know a lot of people that have had them near or after their boat. I've never known of any person that's gotten hit by a water spout. Someone asked if my VHF has DSC and is it activated, has AIS. My VHF does not have AIS, but I have an EPIRB, so I'm not concerned about my VHF radio. I have 2 spare bilge pumps, and I have an emergency manual bilge pump. Oh, hey, Kevin. How you doing? Someone asked, aluminum versus fiberglass, pros and cons. Well, you shouldn't have any pennies if you have an aluminum boat. I mean, like, aluminum are badass if you're getting like a high latitudes boat. That's the jam all the way. But it's really the pros and cons. It comes down to cost mostly. It's like fiberglass boats are easy to fix yourself. You can patch, no problem. You can do all kinds of stuff to them. Where aluminum boats, you have to have someone that can weld aluminum if you have to have a repair done. So that's an issue. Do I have lightning protection on a boat? There is no such thing as lightning protection on a boat. People may tell you there are, but it is a placebo. If lightning is going to strike your boat, it's going to strike your boat. But there is a very, very interesting podcast on 59 North, on the Wind podcast, with a gentleman who's like a meteorologist, and he talks about how sailboat masks actually create their own lightning diversion. So just like what's called St. Elmo's fire back in the days of tall ships, there'd be the ball of plasma glowing at the ends of the yards and at the top of the mast. And that ball of plasma is like supercharged in electricity in the air, and it actually deflects the lightning. So the lightning sees that, and it's like, well, that's not, it's looking for the path of least resistance. And so that is it's not the path of least resistance. So that's why it's fairly rare for sailboat masts to get struck. Not totally uncommon. Yeah, I mean, it happens. But more likely than not, you'll see a boat get struck that's hooked up to a dock and maybe hooked up to shore power. Like that's how they're going to get struck. But out in the middle of the sea, I've been in the Atlantic where there was terrifying lightning everywhere around us, like super scary, and none of it struck near us at all. So it's like, yes, but anyone that tells you they have some lightning set up on their boat, it's not real. They may think it's real, but it's not. If the light's going to hit your boat, it's going to hit the boat. The other thing is people think that their stoves are a Faraday cage. Well, that rubber gasket around your stove means it's not a Faraday cage because the metal isn't touching, so it's compromised. Someone's asking about $100,000 for a different boat. What would I get? I wouldn't get a different boat. I would put the money in the bank and go buy extra coffee. I own the perfect sailboat that I wish to own currently. What else? Any other questions? Someone saying painted mast, if there's some bubbling bits where is clearly corrosion, how worried should I be? Anything else? No. Okay, so here's Cameron asked this about the painted mast thing. They painted an aluminum mast, you're going to see that. It's not an issue. Like, it's better for a mast to not be painted because then that's just going to happen. It doesn't mean it's compromised or anything. Aluminum naturally has corrosion. It's not a big deal. And actually, aluminum, it creates it corrodes on the very outside, and it creates a safety barrier that protects all the aluminum below it. That's why a lot of aluminum, like really badass high latitudes aluminum boats, they're not painted. They're just raw aluminum, and they look dirty and dingy, but that's actually a protective barrier that naturally happens. And people will paint booms and stuff, and it'll corrode underneath, but it's not an issue. You can just chip it off and sand it and then repaint it. It's not, unless it's something dramatic where you can see bubbling up a paint when something's painted on aluminum. It's pretty common. Someone said, show us the sea movement. Someone else said, can you smoke weed at sea? Well, yeah, sure you can. I don't smoke weed, but yeah. What else? Kate's asking if Selkie is aluminum. Yes, she's aluminum. I'll walk you guys around since a bunch of y'all joined in. How many people got on board right now? 274. We'll keep yammering until y'all get bored. I'll walk y'all around, show you outside. I did this for people here at the beginning, but it's very, very rolly. I try not to drop my damn laptop. Oh, shit. Oh. Yeah, it's very rolly out here. Oh. I got my rocker stopper out. Roll stabilizer. That's a must-have. A little bit of current, it looks like, but show you. Ooh. Yeah, very, very rolly anchorage, this one. Oh. Oh, sorry for. My rocker stopper is the brand rocker stopper. It's like from Davis Instruments, and it is a dream. A lot of mine are kind of broken. I need to get a new one, but what else? Someone asked if the government can track me. Well, I have a publicly accessible tracking page where I tell everybody where I am 24 hours a day. So I would say, yeah, they can. But my brother's also one of the bigwigs in the NSA. So yeah, I guarantee you the government can track me. Kimberly said, what am I most excited about seeing and exploring in the Tuamotus? Like I mentioned, the uninhabited atolls I'm very excited about. And also want to try to do the shark wall dive in Fakurava, I believe is how you pronounce it. Where I'll go out with like a dive boat and they do a drift dive in one of the channels and there's a wall of like hundreds of sharks. So that should be happening while I'm there. Really want to do that. Someone said, what are my favorite sailing YouTube channels? I used to love Free Range. They were my favorite, but they quit, which is a bummer. Just a sec, I got to open my forward hatch. Other than that, I watch Ryan and Sophie. Like those guys are friends of mine. What else? I don't know. I don't have time to watch a lot of YouTube channels. When I lived on land, I watched a ton, but Archie was asking if I grabbed any of the submerged moorings. No, we looked for one at Coral Gardens, and there were two boats on the main sort of strip of one. There was supposed to be another one out that was on Avionics. We couldn't find it. And then me and Kimberly tried to go to Molokini, and it got very, very sketchy. We kind of got trapped inside Molokini, as the winds and the seas built. Like we just drove in to pick up. There was actually 2 on the surface, and we were just going to grab those because the sea state was kind of sloppy. When we came about, we couldn't get out of Molokini. The seas were like holding us kind of in place. I went full throttle with the diesel. The winds increased to 17 knots, and we were just kind of stuck with a very close lee shore that was like less than 2 boat lengths away. And it was like one of the hairier situations I've been in with Tritea. And the bummer was like we couldn't pay out our headsail and tack out because it's a horseshoe crater. So the exit is so narrow that we were trying to like, kind of tack our way out to like not take the seas dead on, but the water was like so shallow. It was like bright turquoise, very close. So we were just kind of zigzagging, and it was very, very sketchy. So once we got out of there, we're like, fuck this. And we cut straight over back to Maui and checked out Big Beach. I don't know the Hawaiian name for that anchorage. And then that place was like totally exposed. And so then we went from there to La Perouse Bay, which was fantastic. Someone's asking West Coast, California versus Gulf Coast, Florida. I've done deliveries in the Atlantic, but I've never done any cruising up and down the East Coast, so I can't say. But West Coast, there's like not a lot of places to really live under anchor. It's pretty restricted. So I would not say it would be a very easy place to live just on the hook. I mean, if you're over there, you might as well just go to Mexico. Are there any security risks by sailing? I'm not sure what you mean by that question, but I'd be happy to answer it if you can clarify what kind of security risk you were speaking of. What are my average boat costs per month spending living on the boat life? That all depends on where you're at. So in Hawaii, it's obscenely expensive, and I did a massive amount of refit work. So my monthly expenses aren't really relevant to what they're gonna be now that I'm leaving, and I've just been under anchor for the last month. But now that I'll be off in a place, while French Polynesia is expensive cost of living wise, but I'm not going to be staying at marinas, so that changes significantly. Someone said, what happened to that girl that laughed at you while you were working on the boat? Maytal, chime in. She's in the chat right now, if that's the one you're talking about. At the beginning, you're talking about the first season, it's Maytal, and she's in the chat right now. She heckled me the whole time, and she's hilarious. Someone said, how many years sailing experience hold you need for an ocean passage? What's the most dangerous, Atlantic versus Pacific? The Pacific's a much easier. Sailing to Hawaii is much easier than doing an Atlantic crossing, because the Atlantic, like the squalls and the storms in the Atlantic are way, way gnarlier because the water is so much warmer. So they're more intense. So the Pacific is the pacifist. It's very chill. The problem with sailing to Hawaii is that you have to get back. So it's very, very long way back. So the Pacific, sailing the Pacific trade winds, much, much more polite and easier than the Atlantic. But it's also much further than stuff in the Atlantic. But as far as like how much experience you need, I don't know. I know a dude, this guy Jeff that I met out here. He was he straight up like had never slept on a boat. He had money. He bought a really nice seagoing boat. Never spent the night on a boat before he got on it and sailed to Hawaii. And he got his ass handed to him the first week and had to anchor off of an island in Mexico, like totally got his ass kicked. But then once he got into the trades, it was like a little bit better. But I don't know I don't think that's a good idea to do that, but it's like, who knows? Someone asked, I do not have a water maker. I wish I did. Do I poop in the ocean? Is this a Miranda July film? I have a toilet on my boat. I'm sophisticated. Someone said, what do the natives think about my tattoos? Natives in Hawaii? Well, here's the thing is like in Hawaii and in Polynesia, everyone has tattoos. So actually blend in a lot, you know, it's like tattoos are not taboo in Polynesia at all. So yes, I do have a rain catchment system. What else? Someone said they saw a thing where a truck windshield wiper motor is attached to a hand pump water maker and he was using it. Yeah, it makes sense. It's a pretty simple thing. The big problem with water makers, oh, I guess I can talk about this now actually. The big problem with water makers is the membranes. That's the big issue. But months ago, must have been like 7 months ago now, maybe 6 months ago, some inventors at MIT contacted me and wanted to talk to me about this new water maker they invented. And now they've released it, not released the water maker, but they've released their invention to the public. So I can talk about it finally. They've invented a water maker that just applies an electrical current to seawater and removes all of the harmful bacteria and all of the heavy metals and everything and the salt. So it's a desalinator that has no membrane, no moving parts. It only draws 3 amps and it's just like a tube. And they've made one in a Pelican case. And they were talking, they want me to start beta testing it. They think they'll be available in like November for me to start beta testing one of these water makers. So that would be fantastic. And they're going to be able to offer it to the public for under $2,000. So I think I had like a 2-hour long Zoom call with those guys. And then I put them in touch with some other cruisers to talk even further. So pretty remarkable. Elena asked, my favorite Channel Islands anchorage, Forney Cove. Think Forney Cove. Potato is really cool too. It's very small, but I like how wild Potato Harbor feels on Santa Cruz. Forney Cove like has my heart all the way. That was like, that place is amazing, but you got to be there when the wind is not super brutal. Someone asked if I turned down boat deliveries because of safety concerns. Yeah, I've definitely showed up to boats that people wanted me to deliver and I've been like, hell no, and walked away from it. Someone asked if I thought about sailing to Puerto Rico. I've sailed out of Puerto Rico on deliveries before. It is very beautiful. It reminds me of like East LA. Boondoggy asked what my Catalina and Channel Island anchorages would I say are my favorite. Catalina, as far as Catalina goes, if the swell is right, Little Harbor is my favorite. If the swell is wrong, Little Harbor is my least favorite. Little Fisherman's Cove is probably the most terrible, consistently terrible anchorage, but it's also the easiest and closest to the mainland. It blows like 30 knots in that anchorage every single day. Little Cabrillo is a fantastic anchorage. You can have fires on the beach. You can swim. There's no mooring balls there. That's awesome. You can also check out all my old videos to kind of get a feel for, what I thought about them. Someone asked if Trite is rigged for a spinnaker. Yeah, I have an asymmetrical spinnaker that I fly in short air, in light air. Actually, that video coming out tomorrow is when my first attempt to sail to Maui, I had problems with like dirty fuel. Like there was like crud in the bottom of my diesel tank. And I thought I got it all out. No, I hadn't opened it up because it's a huge thing to deinstall the whole thing and to drain it. So I thought I had gotten most of it out, but my engine died and there was no wind and I was adrift in the Molokai Channel for 45 hours, I think. But I flew my spinnaker during that. But that video is coming out tomorrow. And yeah, it was a good lesson of being adrift, and like gave me much respect for people that sail with no engines on sailboats. Not something I ever want to do, but it gave me respect for them. Somebody asked if their 6-year-old was too young to travel the world. I mean, I don't know anything about children, but there's tons and tons and tons of cruisers that have children of all sizes sailing all over the world. They get a very worldly education that way. But I don't know the first thing about cruising with kids, but there's a lot of books that you can check out about it, though, about the subject. Someone asked, French Polynesia require a visa? You get an automatic 90-day visa as a U.S. citizen, but there is all the clearance paperwork. But I hired an agent to do with all that stuff. Someone asked, my engine is diesel. Yes, it's diesel. Oh, this actually, somebody asked, what is the time limit for anchoring Hawaii? It's 72 hours per anchorage is the rule. I have a Boater's Guide to Oahu coming out in like 2 weeks on the channel. And it's a tell-all about my entire experience, how to deal with the harbor masters, what to expect when you arrive, everything. It's an hour long format of me laying out everything I could possibly think of for anyone that's interested in sailing to the Hawaiian Islands, what to expect, what you're going to have to go through as far as clearing in and getting a slip of the state harbor. So it's a very long, it took me a long time to make the video, but there's a lot of info in there. So that is coming out in like 2 weeks. What else? Someone asked if before setting off, go out and anchor for a night before officially leaving for the South Pacific. I am anchored. I've been anchored all for a whole month. I haven't been to a slip in a minute. Beardless guy is talking about Starlink might work. The problem with Starlink is it needs to be stable. So a lot of people have been like getting excited and putting them on their boats, but if you're tied to the dock, it works. But if it's moving, it can't pick up a signal. So it does not work yet. I think they've even issued like a maritime one, but it is not. You look around on YouTube, you'll find people that install them are all gung ho, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm canceling my subscription because it doesn't work." It's just not there yet. When it gets there, when they find some kind of gimbal, they might be able to do a gimbal the way some radars are gimbaled. I don't know, but it'll be cool when it does. But it's not there yet. Someone asked if I ever think about settling down on land and getting married again. I'm circumnavigating at the moment, so my heart is still pretty destroyed from the last time I made that mistake. So I'm not against marriage, but I've got a lot of healing to do before I ever would think of that again. And I hope to never live on land again. If I do, I want to be very old and I want to live on like a goat farm in Chile. I've never sailed through Galveston. No. Someone asked if I would go to Japan. I would love to go to Japan, but it won't be on this loop. Next on my next circumnavigation, I'll probably, because I'm missing the Marquesas, I'll probably do the Marquesas and do, spend more time in South Pacific. And then I would like to go to Japan, like work my way up through those northern islands and then go to Japan and then go to the Aleutian Islands, which I really wanted to visit this time, but do the Aleutians and then go down like Alaska, BC. So that's eventually I will go to Japan, but not on this time, not for a while. Is the Philippines on my itinerary? Yeah, for sure. I hope to spend like a year in Southeast Asia, just popping all around. What else? What else? Yeah, I'd love to go to Malaysia. There's a really fantastic website called SV Sagi Paws, I think. They have this unbelievable resource about where they've set up these, I can't remember the name of it, these files for every country they've been to with detailed info. And they also collect stories from other cruisers who have been to same places. And it's listed by year of people's different experiences and places. Incredible. If you want to like geek out real hard, go to SV Sagi Paws and go to their like files page. So cool. Somebody said, "Why a goat farm in Chile?" I mean, I love goats. I grew up with goats, and Chile seems very beautiful and remote, and I like remote. Hello from Alabama. Someone said, "What is the ideal boat length for circumnavigation for two people? Length to waterline, overall lengths." I think 40 to 42 feet is a perfect boat for short-handed sailing for a couple. It's like comfortable enough for everybody to have room to move about, and but also small enough for two people to handle when you're coming into harbor. Because that's the thing. Like technically, if you have the right equipment, you can solo sail a 65-foot boat, but can you dock a 65-foot boat when there's wind? So that's what you got to think about. I think 40 to 43 foot is kind of the dream size for short-handed sailing. If there's a couple, you can even single hand that, but I think it's a bit much space for a solo sailor. I think it's an unnecessary amount of space for a solo sailor. But you also got to remember that all of the cost of keeping up boats keeps going up and up and up as they get bigger. Someone asked about if I talked about how I learned to sail in earlier videos. Yeah, and also I've talked about it in podcast. If you listen to my On the Wind interview, I talk about my sailing beginnings. But there's also a really good video I did called Actual Attainable Adventure Cruising. And Sarah, if you can find that link, that would be great. And that talks about ways to learn how to sail and to get on boats if you don't have any experience or you don't have money or whatever. I do not keep plants on boats. Plants are for land. I have not seen any UFOs at sea yet. Yeah, I'm excited for my next adventure. It's coming very soon, within the week, hopefully. Depends on the wind at this point. Someone asked why the UFO question is so common. I don't know. Yeah, it's a pretty common. People ask. Maybe it's because you're out of way and there's like the big open sky. But I'm funny because all the flat earther toads like went away. But the UFO thing, I grew up in New Mexico and I saw a lot of weird stuff in the skies there. And I'm stoked that the US government finally released stuff. They're like, we don't know what they are. So at least like all these dudes that are like interested in it, they must be so mad. They're like assholes. They're like, we told you guys we saw stuff. I mean, I have not seen any at sea, but it's not that I don't believe they exist. It's just I have not seen any at sea anyway. Somebody's asking about my stories of my tattoos. I'm hoping to do a whole. I've been saying this every live stream. I want to do a video talking extensively about the history of tattooing in regards to how it relates to sailors and just body modification in general. I have a lot of body modification, not just tattoos. So it's something that's long been an interest to me. And my tattoo suit is about 90% done. But yeah, it's kind of on hold now because I swim so much, so I can't really be getting tattooed. But when I'm in the French Polynesia, if I end up meeting like a traditional Polynesian tattooer, then I might do a piece on them. Someone said, how come you don't keep a pole on board? You mean like that one directly right there? Yeah, I don't know why I don't keep one of those on board. Someone said, do you think you're going to get a little seasick pretty quick on the upcoming trip? I don't think I will because I've been in these completely gnarly anchorages for the last like 3 weeks. So I would guess my mind has pretty much acclimated, but all I do is I just take like half a Dramamine a day and just like feel like shit. The worst part is like stopping drinking the caffeine. While like the first 3 days, my head just kills me. How much experience does one have before attempting to cross the Pacific? I would say, here's the thing: you should understand. You should know how to sail. If you're doing it solo, you definitely want to have a lot of experience. But what I would suggest to anyone that's interested in crossing is sign on to do a delivery on a yacht that's an ocean crossing delivery with a skilled captain and crew. Now, you're going to have to volunteer. You're not going to get paid. They'll pay for your food and everything. But a lot of like when I first started doing deliveries, I would fly myself to the boat and they would cover all the food and everything. And I wouldn't get paid, but I would get it's called mileage building. And I learned so much. But that's going to tell you if you enjoy doing ocean sailing, and it's also going to give you a chance to see how things work from people that know what they're doing. So that's what I would say is do a couple of deliveries, even if they're only like 3 or 4 days. Do that first, and then go from there. Can I break down how I was able to buy a boat working 9 to 5? Yeah, my boat cost $2,400. Someone asked if I ever sell a catamaran. I have absolutely zero interest in multi-hulls. Zero. Someone asked if it's hard to walk on land after being at sea for a month. It was very hard. When I landed, Sarah, I think I was talking to Sarah on the phone when I walked to like the Hard Rock Cafe to get a veggie burger after Mike helped me get tied up to the dock and towed me in. And I was walking, staggering across the sidewalk back and forth like a drunkard. And then I waited, and then the Hard Rock Cafe in Honolulu is upstairs. I had to hold the rail because the steps were moving like this. I didn't get land sick, but man, it was so hard to walk. Someone asked, how much money have I put into the boat since I purchased it? Close to $40,000 at this point. But a lot of the big stuff this last year were from sponsors. So I think in my money, I've probably put $30,000 into the boat. Someone asked, what music do I like? I like all types of music. Like my snap listen to, like what do I put on normally is like jazz standards, or like Duke Ellington, or even like if I'm at a dock, I'll listen to classical music, just something that's like non-intrusive and non-demanding. But I listen to a lot of like jazz standards, and I was listening to a lot of like 1920s Hawaiian music, which I thought was really fun. What else? Someone asked what I do when I don't have anyone to talk to on the boat. I read and I write, and I edit videos and I think. I think more than I should probably. What else? What else? Well, we've been going for a minute. Hour and 40. You guys aren't bored yet? There's still 245 of us on here. Can you guys see how rocky? I guess you can see from the lights how it is so silly rocky. Someone asked if I've been to Australia by boat. I've been to Australia not by on. I visited Australia, but I've never been by boat. I do plan to go there after New Zealand. Would I rather live and travel the world 50 years back or 50 years in the future? 50 years back for sure. I'm not going to Pitcairn Island. How do I deal with loneliness at sea? How do I deal with loneliness at sea? I don't know. You just got to kind of think your way through it, you know? What else? What is the most expensive expense of sailing? Owning a boat. I don't get scared sailing alone. I got scared on my last passage because I talked about it on the video where I popped out and there was a big fog bank and I saw the shadow of my mainsail. And I thought that it was a sail right behind me and that scared the shit out of me. But other than that, I don't get scared. But again, I'm like totally at peace with dying. So it's like, yeah, it's neither here. I mean, I don't put myself in risky situations to where I might die, but if I do, it's no big deal. I had a really good run. So I'm pretty chill about that sort of shenanigan. Someone has, if I ever thought it was over for me. Oh, thank you for the donation. Really appreciate it. Jedi Surf. Everything was over for me out at sea. Everything is over for you out at sea. The one time where I thought I could be in real trouble was the second time I dove on the anchor, where I was like, tried to put my scuba gear on. And when I was holding on to the side of the boat, my arms pinged out. And I realized I might not have the strength to get back on the boat. And I was alone and being drugged behind the boat. That was the only time. And I wouldn't say I was scared, but I was very concerned. I was like, oh shit. So I got out of my gear, got myself back on board, and with lots of my strength, got my gear back on board. But that was the only time I was like, oh, this could do it. This could totally do it. But luckily I didn't. Someone asked if I do not use SSB. I don't use SSB. I use Iridium Go. Metal said, personally, I'd be appreciative if you're a little chill about dying. I don't know what to tell you, girl. Someone said, what was the time you dumped the dinghy in the Channel Islands? That was very terrible. But the thing is like, I don't associate that with being at sea. That was like inshore. And that was just a really, really dumb mistake. That was an easy mistake to make. But yes, I don't relate that story to being out at sea because I was in an anchorage. But yeah, I came very close to dying that time. Thoughts on feminism? I think that everyone, no matter their sex or whatever, should all be treated with respect. I think people shouldn't be assholes to anyone. So that's my views on feminism. Are you ready for the recession we're going to have in the USA? Yeah, I'm going to be on a boat in the middle of nowhere. Sure, no problem. What would I tell a guy who is, thank you, Tyler, appreciate it. What would I tell a guy who is tired of everyday hustle life and wanting to change? Figure out how to make it happen. Life is very, very short. You should be happy. Everyone should be happy. So figure out what's within scale of possibility, whether you have to bust your ass to make it happen, or if it's a small change you can make, there's nothing more important in life than being happy, period. Because we have like this much time on the planet. What else? Someone says, how much food do I have packed? What type of food? Make long distance. I generally pack for 40 days. I have like 40 plus days at sea worth of food on board, which came in handy on my last passage, which was 32 days. I still had 2 weeks worth of food when I landed in Honolulu, though. Someone asked if I'm coming back to Los Angeles. No, I will not be coming back to Los Angeles for a very, very long time. I love Los Angeles. It will always be like my hometown in my heart. I grew up in Hobbs, New Mexico, but LA has always felt like my hometown. But I don't know that I'll ever live there again. But my mom always said never say never. Someone asked if I ever fish for food out at sea. Yes, I'll be fishing for sure on this next passage, but I don't. The thing with the fishing thing is like I don't like to take things that I don't need, and so yeah, it's interesting. Thank you so much for that flying jelly bean. Thank you. Oh, Mike's back. What else? Do I have insurance? Yes, I have boat. You have to have boat insurance if you want to tie up to any docks in Hawaii and actually other places too. They want you to have insurance. It doesn't really apply internationally. Most insurance won't. But the best insurance you can have is a big anchor. But I also have health insurance through Dan. You have to have health insurance to travel health insurance to get into French Polynesia. Best advice I'd give my younger self. Don't be a dickhead. Any run-ins with Davy Jones yet? No, if I did, I wouldn't be sitting here. What about piracy? Piracy is very, very minimal threat in very specific places, always close to shore. So near the Suez Canal is an issue, but mostly they just want big ships. And then it's mostly like people say pirates when they actually mean bandits. So there's like robbery and stuff kind of. Basically, if you leave yourself open to getting robbed, then you're going to get robbed. But like around Malaysia in the Malay Sea, you have to be concerned about sailing at night alone, or also like anchoring way up in rivers when there's no one around. That's an easy way to get robbed. But there's bandits everywhere because people are poor in most places and you're on a yacht that looks like you have a lot of money. So it's a matter of like not putting yourself in harm's way. But as far as like what people think of or imagine pirates to be is mostly like a thing of fiction. Tyler's asking about my tattoos. Sarah, will you post memoirs page? My tattoos I've gotten them all over the place, but Sean Barber did my torso and a lot of my suit. Do I ever swim with dolphins? Yes. When I'm swimming and dolphins swim up with me, I definitely swim with dolphins, but it's illegal to pursue dolphins in Hawaii. But I am not opposed to swimming with dolphins because they are absolutely magic. Have I ever sailed with my mom? My sweet mother has been dead since 2013, and she did not know me as a sailor. So, no, and she would have never gotten on a sailboat. My mom was a wildcat when she was young. She raced motorcycles in the men's division because they didn't have a women's division. And she did like competition roller skate dancing. She was a super badass in the 70s. And she died very young, in my opinion, 63 years old. And it was like one of the worst things that ever happened to me. But so my mom never knew me as a sailor. What else? What else? What else? Any other questions? Do I see killer whales? I've seen. We had orcas surface on a delivery I did off of Point Conception. I delivered a boat or helped deliver a boat from San Diego to San Francisco, 2015. And right sunrise, right at Point Conception, we had an orca surface so close to the boat that the old salt on deck thought it was a periscope of a submarine because their fins are like 6 feet tall and they're jet black. So it came up and he starts yelling, "There's something out here." I ran up in my underwear. It was like time for my watch. And we had a pair of adult orcas and 3 babies, and they stayed with us for an hour. And it was fantastic. You ever see any sharks? I saw a shark sitting on shore. Well, the shark wasn't sitting on shore, not like having a lemonade or anything. But I was sitting on shore yesterday and saw a shark in the shallows over there. But I saw white sharks between Catalina and LA several times. But out here, they mostly just have tigers. And I swam with like sandbar sharks here and Galapagos sharks. But I didn't see any tigers while I was here. Maytal said, "Do I have any rituals before setting sail?" Normally I don't. Oh, thank you, Alex. Appreciate it. Normally I don't, but I'm going to actually, Kimberly mentioned that I should look into the Hawaiian send-off rituals. And I can't remember, with like some kind of leaves. So I'm going to do that before I leave in the Hawaiian tradition. What else? Do I pray? No, I'm a devout atheist. I do not pray. Someone said, "Have I sailed to Snake Island in the Ukraine?" I have not sailed in the Ukraine. Longest time off of land, 32 days at sea was plenty for me. What else? Tea leaves. There, Kimberly chimed in there. Kimberly, why don't you pop into the chat and tell people what your favorite part of our little adventures were? Someone just said, "No atheist at sea." Oh, my friend, I was adrift in the Pacific Ocean alone with no one to save me, and I did not pray to an imaginary god. So yeah, I can tell you there are atheists at sea. Yes, I do enjoy cliff jumping, but I get less and less daring when I get older. I'm like, man, I dodged a bunch of bullets when I was young. Someone asked if I'm able to navigate without GPS. Yes, I have. I know Celestial and I have a sextant. Kimberly said, "Castle Grayskull at La Perouse Bay." I can't wait for you guys to see the videos of mine and Kimberly's time at La Perouse Bay. We found this secret lagoon by accident, and it was so cool. Really awesome. Yeah. What else? Metal, yeah. We found this rock that looked like a skull face on the side of in the basalt, and then we found the hidden lagoon behind it. It was so cool. Someone said, "If I'm an atheist, why am I doing this?" I'm just like collecting memories. I have like nothing makes me happier in the world than seeing wildlife and beautiful places. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just like going around the world and seeing beautiful things. Like I could be dead tomorrow. I could have an aneurysm and die like that. So I'm just going to try to see as many pretty things and wild animals as I can before my lights go out. And luckily, I have a platform now where I can share it with people who aren't, don't have the ability to see the things that I'm getting to see. So I'm stoked to be able to share it with everybody. But yeah, I'm just no spiritual awakening. I just want to see pretty things. Someone asked if I ever done psychedelics. I've been sober my entire life, so no, I did not. I do not do psychedelics. OnlyFans. Yeah, I have an OnlyFans, and there's no one signed up yet. This brings me to a funny conversation. That joke. When I first started my page, when I first started my channel, I started my channel in 2015. But when me and Maytal went and I bought the boat, and she filmed me for that whole first year or whatever of me having the boat, and I started releasing videos every Monday. I started a Patreon, and like, I'm a terrible businessman. I'm terrible. I don't like to promote myself. I don't like to ask for anything. I don't like to ask for money or help. Like, I just suck at it, but it's fine. I give everything away for free. Don't try to hide things behind the paywall. I'm just like, here it is. If you appreciate it, then maybe some people contribute. But early on, I started my Patreon. I had someone sign up as a patron. I didn't know. I was like, oh my God, someone signed up, $1 a video. This is amazing. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make them a Patreon only video. So I make them this video and I put it up on Patreon. So this one person who I didn't know, it was my patron, he watched the video and he deleted his patronage, which was like such a bummer and so funny. But yeah, that was funny. What else? You guys have anything else? The sound of nothing except waves doesn't irritate you? No, the sound of people irritate me generally more than waves. Hello from Scotland, Cosmo Dog. Good morning. What else? You guys have any other questions? Someone said sailing is a great way to do time travel. 1000%. It is time travel. Have I wrote a book yet on your journeys? I've written a number of books. Yes. You can find those at svtritea.com. Tyler, how long am I going to be doing this? Just like the Pardee said, until it's not fun anymore. As long as it's fun. That's what they said. Anyone interested in my sleep schedule and passages can watch the things I learned from solo sailing video on my YouTube channel. Carlos is on here. Carlos, what up? That's one of my oldest friends, Carlos Archuleta. I love him very dearly. Sarah, will you post the what I learned at sea for everybody asking about my sleep schedule? Someone said, can I have more girls in my videos? There are plenty of videos with like tits and ass. So like, if there's interesting people that come on board, then there's interesting people that come on board. But no, I'm not looking for women to increase the views of my channel. Not really the viewership I'm looking for. All right, this Jesus person is going straight to hell in my channel right now. Goodbye. I ain't having no kind of propaganda on my shit. What else? What else? Oh, on the religious note, I used to work with Latin dudes that called me sexy Jesus. So there's that, I guess. Sailor Jesus, someone just called me. Anyway, anybody, and we have any more things that we want to talk about? 2 hours in. I can't believe there are still so many people here. We're just chilling, huh? Sarah, will you post my itinerary? Someone asked if I got a Hawaii tattoo. I did not. I couldn't justify spending the money. I probably could have got one from free from Big Island Mike, but the problem with getting tattoos and living on a boat is I want to be able to swim every day. So it's like, I guess if I had second skin, but I like to swim. So, but I have a couple tattoos, so it's okay. Someone said, would you ever have kids? I've been sterile since birth, so I cannot have children. So no, I won't be having children. Thank you, Ryan, for saying the nice thing about the Passage video. Yeah, it's almost at 3 million views. I think it crossed 2.8 million on the Passage video the other day, which is crazy. It's totally wild. The reception has been very humbling. And yeah, I'm grateful that it resonated with so many people. It makes me feel good. Oh, finally, there's a flat earther. Wow, I was wondering where all the flat earthers went. They've been very quiet lately. Yeah, the earth is round. Someone said, why am I sterile? I don't know. I was born sterile. I don't know what to tell you. Thank you, Chris, for chiming in. Swill asked, on my journey to Hawaii, what's one thing on the journey taught you about yourself that you didn't perhaps know about yourself beforehand? I think my ability to sort of deal with what I had to deal with, like, I guess here's the best way to explain it is before that happened to me, when I would see stories about people being rescued from sailboats at sea, specifically, it happens a lot. There'll be like big production boats, there'll be crews, something will happen, whatever, especially in modern times. And they'll call for rescue, set off their EPIRB, Coast Guard will rescue them, everyone's rescued. And then the boat's found floating months later. Every time I've seen one of those stories, I'm like, I would never do that. I would never do that. That is bullshit. And it's easy to say that. It's easy to say a lot of things from the comfort of your home. But now, after what I experienced with the rudder and having to make it work, and figuring out a solution, thanks accelerated by the ability to contact a shore team. But the fact that I didn't abandon my ship and I made it happen, that's a good thing to know about yourself. Because like I said before, I was always like, I would never be that person, but you can talk a lot of shit until it comes down to it. So I feel confident that now I know that put in that sort of circumstance, I know what I can do and where my head's going to be at when shit goes down, that you're just totally, you're on your own. So that's a peace of mind. And it's funny because like that experience doesn't make me feel like a badass at all. It's very humbling. It's like, oh, well, I don't want that to happen again. But I am glad to know where my head would be at based on what my experience was in that situation. How often have you seen the green flash? I've never seen it. I've burned my eyeballs out staring at the sun, and I have yet to see the green flash. No, I do not plan on shaving my beard. I will cut it back to villain status, so it looks like I tie up women on railroad tracks, so I don't look like I'm a prospector in the Yukon before I leave. But no, I will never shave my face ever again. Someone asked, what would I do if a shipping container breached my hull? It's almost impossible to breach the hull of this boat with a shipping container because it's hand-laid fiberglass and not cord. A reef could do it, no problem, but a shipping container, I don't believe so. Carlos said, oh, he always said I was the person he'd want in a survival situation. He says that, but I've scared that dude more than I've scared anyone on the planet. So even if me and Carlos were in a life or death, end of the world apocalypse situation, I would still find an opportunity to scare the shit out of that dude because I love him. Do my ears hurt in those rings? I've had my ears stretched since 1995, so I'm going to say no. Worst injury sustained under sail. I blew out my shoulder pretty bad at the end of the last passage, and it still hurts. I also got really bad hand injuries from catching my drone. Well, I crashed my drone, which was stupid. I talk about it on my Things I Learned video on the channel, but that was like a really scary moment. What else? Rocker, punk, or surfer? I'm not sure. Is that a question? I'm not a surfer. I don't have the patience for surfing. Someone said, how long before you cast off? What day do you leave Hawaii? No one should ever set departure dates. When the boat is ready and the weather is willing, that's when I leave Hawaii. But it will be very soon. What else? Is there a particular piece of equipment on the boat that I don't necessarily need, but wish I had? A water maker. You don't need a water maker, but that would make my life so much easier. I just don't have the $5,000 to buy a water maker. Someone said, do I have auto furling? No, my boat's very manual. Someone asked about seeing a bird 1,000 miles from land. Pretty common, actually. Albatross, they live at sea, like most of the year, and then they just come to the Hawaiian Islands, at least the northern ones, to breed and have babies. But they're always at sea, as well as petrels are always at sea. Kimberly, will you chime in also and tell me what other birds in the Pacific anyway are always at sea? Someone asked, would I rather come back as a seagull or a sea turtle? A sea turtle for sure. Someone asked, thoughts on Sam Holmes sailing? What do you mean? What are my thoughts? Like, Sam bought his boat 2 slips from mine, and we're buddies. So I think he's a funny dude with a death wish, but he's my buddy. Have you ever had a flying fish accident? I've had lots of flying fish on the deck. I had one, actually, I was under anchor at Catalina Island at Cat Harbor, and there was a feeding frenzy of Pacific barracuda chasing flying fish. And one of the flying fish hit my rigging, my lower stays so hard, I thought that the rig parted. I thought that the cable broke. I ran on deck, and there's a big ass flying fish with its wing cut almost all the way off, blood everywhere, and it's flopping blood all over the deck. I hit the shroud so hard it cut its wing halfway off. I have not been to the Galapagos, but I would love to go someday. What else? What else? You got any other good questions? I have not sailed in the Caribbean or the Mediterranean. I'll go there someday. I have sailed in the Atlantic. I've done a yacht delivery from Puerto Rico to Bermuda to North Carolina. Someone says the sail back to Cali much different than the sail to Hawaii. It is a way, way crappier sail. Takes quite a bit longer because you have to go so far north to get above the Pacific high. Sometimes you'll have to get as high as Seattle before you can point if you're going to Los Angeles. If you're going to Seattle, then obviously it's not as bad, but it's a very long, and you're kind of beating, and it's very foggy and cold and not fun. The sail to Hawaii is pretty breezy. I mean, it's easy. It's like no problem. Very polite sail, I say. Someone asked if I bunk with seamen. I'm not even going to touch that comment. Thoughts on the Bermuda Triangle? We had weird stuff happen to us in Bermuda Triangle, and the 12-year-old boy in me says, hell yeah, it's weird out there. I've also sailed across Loch Ness, which is awesome. So do I trust my rudder repair? 1,000,000,000%. Yep, I do. And if it breaks, I'm not concerned about it because I have a hydrovane and a drogue. Someone said, going from Hawaii straight south. Yep, I'll be, which it's not a lot, but I'll be using every night, looking at the Southern Cross. All I got to do is keep the Southern Cross on my bow, according to Polynesian wayfinding, and that'll take me straight to the Tuamotus. So that's what the Hokulea just did. That's what all the Polynesians did. Basically, they would sail the Tuamotus, and then they would come about and go to Tahiti. And I'm going to the Tuamotus first, so I just got to keep the Southern Cross on my bow for 20 days, or 21 to 25 days, and then I'll make landfall. What else? Favorite book? Show us. Okay, I can do that. One of my favorites, but there you go. I love it. I love it. When was the last time I cried? Honest answer, last time I cried was when I read this damn article about myself in Cruising World, written by David Blake Fisher. It's funny because I've thought about the passage so much, and obviously talked about it with people so much, but I've always talked about the mechanics of it, and I've talked about the rudder experience, and I guess I just kind of like didn't think about the emotional aspect until I read David's article, and it pretty much destroyed me. So I don't cry often, but when I do, it's like hardcore. So that's that was the last time I cried. Someone asked if I have storm cells. Yes, I have a storm jib. I have a track for a storm trysail, but I don't have a storm trysail yet. I'll probably get one from Rolly Tasker when I get to Thailand. Mert said they got a copy of that cruising handbook for fishing. That's a cool book. It's really cool for sailboats. What else? Do I have any equipment like a Goal Zero generator or something small that I use all the time? I just got a little generator. Like it's like those Honda ones. I couldn't afford the Honda one, but I got Furman or something like that. I think I ended up paying like $300 or $400 for it, but that thing's awesome, especially with like all electric galley. I need to have that backup in case I need to top my batteries up, which I did. I actually ran it for 2 hours today to get the batteries topped back up because there hadn't been enough sun. Says, how many rocker stoppers do I have out and on both sides? I only have it out on one side, and I think I have 5 rocker stoppers in my little chain. Someone said, can we follow your sailing journey on PredictWind? Yeah, you can find the tracker link on sbtritea.com. Someone asked, what kind of anchor do I have? I have a 45-pound Mantis. I have 300 feet of 5/16 HT chain, and I have 200 feet of rope road attached to that. What else? What's my actual compass course? Due south. Somebody asked if I was happy with my solar lithium setup. Yeah, the lithium is outstanding, amazing. I should have more solar. It works for my minimal situation when it's just me on board. But I definitely think that people should have more than, I have 400 watts of solar, and I might get a solar arch made when I'm in Thailand. Because I think 800 would be much better, obviously. But yeah. What else? Someone said, when am I leaving for French Polynesia? Sometime in the next week. Where were you born? Accent seems different. I was born in Hobbs, New Mexico. Hobbs, America, as they call it. Someone just sent me a PayPal donation. Thank you very much. I just got an email about it. Do I see a lot of dolphins or whales at sea? I didn't see hardly anything. I had that crazy marlin tuna incident, but yeah, I didn't see any whales. Here under anchor, the spinner dolphins come and rest every morning next to Tritea, which has been really lovely. Someone said, do I have a shower on board? Yes, I have a shower on board. What else? How long have I grown out my hair? I don't even know the last time I cut my hair. It's been a couple of years. It just kind of stopped growing, but it got like curly because I'm in a humid area. Normally it's like super straight. Someone asked about alcohol of choice. Yeah, I don't drink. How do I exercise or stay in shape? The boat gives you plenty of exercise. Otherwise, when I'm on land, I walk a ton. I rent little bikes and ride bikes around, go on hikes. Swimming keeps you in shape. I'm also kind of like blessed with a absurdly high metabolism, so I can eat whatever and I don't gain weight. What else? What else? Somebody said, "Why do I choose not to drink?" It just never interested me. So, I've never had a. I mean, like I don't. I've never given anybody grief about them drinking. Like I don't care what people do as long as they're respectful to me about my choice. Like I'm chill with whatever anyone does as long as whatever they do doesn't harm anyone else. Like I'm chill with that. But yeah, it just never appealed to me, so I never did it. Someone asked if I'm still in love with the Outboard 30. 1 billion%. This is my sweet dream boat, and I love it. My rudder repair has been working like a dream perfectly. Someone said, "How does customs work when you're abroad?" Basically, every country has its different set of scenarios, and you should research them before you arrive. But I gotta try to move because of this light. Um, basically, you sail into the country. Nowadays, since the pandemic, most countries you need to email them advance notice that you're going to be arriving. But you sail into a country, you raise a what's called a Q flag, which is a yellow quarantine flag, and this was long before. That's always been the case long before the pandemic. You go up the customs dock or you anchor where you're supposed to anchor. And some places the customs will come out to you, and some places you go ashore and go to the customs office. And you leave the yellow flag up until you've been cleared in. And the yellow quarantine flag, the Q flag, says your ship is void of illness. So there's no illness. So you go to immigration and customs, you clear in, you pay whatever fees are required for that country. And then you drop your quarantine flag, and then you put up a flag of the country you're visiting. And you keep that up. It's called a courtesy flag. You keep that up for the remainder of the time you're in that country. Someone said, "Do you have to worry about what's legal allowed in the country?" Yeah, you should heavily research wherever you're going before you go there. Someone just said, "My Frankenstein fix looks a bit sketchy." It's not sketchy at all. Um, no, and I've already explained many times that it was it would have been far more expensive to replace the rudder in Hawaii. And likely when I get to Southeast Asia where stuff is really cheap, I'll probably have a brand new rudder made and installed there. But I break all of that stuff down in the rudder repair video. Carlos was asking about my 0 watt solar issue. Yeah, my buddy Archie said it happened to him the other day and he just had to reboot his MPPTs. So that's what I'm going to be doing tonight. Metal, yes, customs can search your boat for sure. And they often do. That's why it's like people that carry firearms on board should always declare them And a lot of times they'll take the firearms on shore and lock them up until you leave, or they make you keep it in a locked gun safe. But if you try to hide a gun on your boat and customs finds it, then you're an arms smuggler and you like go to prison, or you could be sentenced to death depending on the country. Someone said, I'm very lonely at sea. What do you do to keep yourself sane? Um, I don't know. Read, think, write, just try to stay busy. And sometimes it's like not necessarily a bad thing to be lonely. It can make you appreciate people more so. I think a lot of times we hide from anything that we don't want to experience. And sometimes you just kind of got to sit in that, you know? Vladimir said they're new sail from MDR. That's awesome. There's a lot of good islands to explore around that zone. So I hope you get out there and see it all. Someone asked if I've done any time. Not enough time in jail to really mention. Asked if I did a message in a bottle. No, I thought about it, but then I have like such guilt about there's enough trash in the ocean. I don't want to contribute to that. What else? We got any more questions? I don't even know what time it is. It's like 5:30 here in Hawaii. Must be late for y'all. Favorite sailing book? Probably Joshua Slocum's Sailing Alone Around the World. Fantastic adventure book. Other than that, Hal Roth, Two Against the Horn, I think, or yeah, that's probably my favorite one. Misty Islands, I really like a lot too, by the Smeatons. Thank you so much for the donation. Wow, awesome. Thank you. Wheelchair XL asked about sailing resources. There's a video on my channel called Actual Attainable Adventure Cruising. If you go watch that video, I break down lots of ways for people to get onto boats and a little bit about my background. Someone just said, pick up my phone thinking a message. Oh, because you heard it ding. Yeah. Someone asked if they get a view of the ocean. Yeah, I carried the computer out twice during this live stream and I almost dropped it last time. So I got to leave it downstairs now. Someone says, my lifestyle possible for a 19-year-old. I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't. All you got, you know, if you find a boat and you find a way to get some enough cash to keep food in your belly, and yeah, you can cruise around and see the world. Just figure out a way to get scratch. Someone said, was I joking when I saw a container ship? The container ship I saw at sea was a mile away from me, not 20 miles. It was very close to me. And I was not joking, unfortunately. Do I think an AS transponder is necessary? I don't think it's necessary. None of this, no electronics on a sailboat are necessary. You can do without it. Is it nice to have? Absolutely. But you look at anyone that was sailing in the 60s, and sure, there's more like container ships out there now, but none of it's necessary. All that's necessary is to have a boat that keeps water out and keep the mast up. That's all that's necessary. But everything else is just like makes life a lot easier, safer. Someone asked, how many gallons of fuel am I carrying? I'll probably have, let me see, probably 35 gallons of fuel on board when I leave, of diesel, and probably like, I don't know, 3 to 6 gallons of gasoline for the dinghy. This sun is just like haunting me here. I'm trying to get in that sweet spot. What else? What else? No, I'm not. There's like boat tours. You can see tours of the inside of my boat on the YouTube channel. Any more questions before I tune out? 2 hours, 31 minutes. Boy, you people, that's nice hanging out with everybody, chilling with everybody, visiting. Someone asked if I held any sailing superstitions. The bananas I do not hold as a superstition, but passage on a Friday, because I've made passage on a Friday a number of times with captains who didn't believe in it, and things went very badly every time I've ever been on a boat where the captain decided to leave on a Friday. So that's my major superstition for sailing. I do not leave on Fridays. Someone asked, do I sunburn? Yeah, for sure. I have a pretty good base layer because I've been in Hawaii so long, but when I'm out working on deck at sea, I always put on like a long sleeve tech shirt and wear a big hat and try to keep covered as much as possible because the sun is no joke. Final comments on Hawaii DLNR. There's a video called Oahu, A Boater's Guide to Oahu, coming out in 2 weeks, and I get into highly detailed information about dealing with harbor masters in Hawaii. And notice it comes out as soon as I leave Hawaii. Carlos is asking about this Shackleton's journey. Most important history moments, and it's not taught, should be. I don't know that it's that important in history. It was probably the most epic sea story that's ever happened, ever. The Shackleton thing, it's completely unreal that they pulled that off. He is like the ultimate badass, and it is not unless you're a total like nautical nerd, you wouldn't know that story. But yeah, for sure, Carlos, as far as like nautical history goes, there is no more badass story than the Shackleton story. Totally bonkers. McCoy said Shackleton got credit than he deserves. The captain of the boat deserves all the credit. Shackleton was on that damn sailing dinghy. Give me a break. You're high. Someone says, how do you determine time? I have a ship's clock that I keep set at local time, but also my Iridium Go keeps up time. But when I leave, I keep my logbook set to whatever the local time was. I should keep it to like UTC or whatever, but I just keep it set to local time. It is funny though, because the time thing is so different. But since I'm sailing straight south, I think I'm staying in the same time zone, which will be very interesting. I come very close to entering into the future because if I went to Kiribati, that's a day ahead. What else? What else? Jeremy's asking about if I listen to music while sailing. You should watch my things I learned about sailing. I very rarely ever listen to music while I'm sailing. Am I nervous about the language barrier? I visited like 22 countries and I only speak English, so I'm not worried about the language barrier. Make do. I have a little translator like thing on my phone, so basically it's like you just try to put together simple words. I spent a month in Russia in 2014 and didn't have any issues, and so yeah, I'm not worried about it. Someone asked what my Yanmar burns per hour. I use about at like 20 like 2000 to 2500 RPM. I use about half a gallon an hour of fuel, a little less. Thanks, Brian. Good to see you. Take care. Hawaii is absolutely magical. The one thing I would say is you come on vacation in Hawaii, it's expensive, but make sure you have more than 5 days. Like 7 days is the minimum in paradise. Hawaii is fantastic. All right, I think I'm going to tune it out now. 2 hours and 37 minutes. And yeah, thanks everybody for chiming in and saying what's up, hanging out, asking questions. And I hope I got a lot of them answered. And thanks to Sarah for keeping up with all the troll hunting. And I appreciate everyone. And thanks to everyone who donated. Really appreciate it. And you can always, pop over to YouTube if you have questions and leave in the comments. I'm going to be out of pocket for, like I said, 20 to 25 days selling to South Pacific. So I won't be able to answer comments at that point. But yeah, thanks so much, everyone. And I look forward to sharing all of these crazy Hawaiian adventures I've been having that you haven't seen yet. And then, of course, bam, here we go. We're going to the South Pacific. So thanks, everyone, for your support, for watching the videos, for tuning in and saying what's up. And I love you guys. And I look forward to showing you the wild shit I'm going to see this summer. All right. See you guys.